But all the same, it's a beautiful day. Thank you all for joining us for our first ever ACOFDC podcast. So today we're going to be focusing on the Emergent African Forum. And before I do that, let me just make sure that we know who is here. Um, uh, okay. So I can see Mr. Kojo Dogan is here. Good to have you here, sir. Been, it's been an expectation of you to feature here. So you are the VP of Digital Finance and Practitioners in Ghana. And I overheard your conversation about an exit. Um, whatever that means for our audience, I think it's something that we're gonna have the privilege to hear from you. What that entails in that sector. And we also have Mr. David Edoja. David, thank you for being here. I hear you've been traveling. I don't know where exactly you are right now.
I'm in Lagos at the moment.
You're in Lagos. All right. Lagos, and we're expecting to have you join us here in Minneapolis, right?
Yes, yes. I'm looking forward to it.
That is awesome. Thank you for being here. It's always a pleasure to have you on board. Um, we also have Ibrahim. Ibrahim is not on camera right now, but I think he's going to come up.
Hello.
Yes, Mr. Ibrahim. Good to
Hi.
have you here, sir. Welcome to the ACOFDC podcast and
Thank you.
special edition on the Emergent African Forum. And also on the call is Mr. Calvin Jiraji. He is also, I assume, in Lagos, Nigeria, right, Calvin? And he is the head of communication here at the African Chamber of Commerce. And he also serves in his role as an entrepreneur, working with young men and women in the agribusiness and also in mentorship and incubation and all of that good stuff about entrepreneurship, right? And startup. So I'm missing somebody here. Oh, Dr. Chinedu as well. Always welcome, sir. I don't know what your level of participation is here today, but you can definitely let us know about that. Thank you all and welcome to this special edition of the ACOFDC podcast here on the heels of the Emerging African Forum event. So what exactly is it? It's going on here with the Emerging African Forum. I just want to let you all know and our audience out there watching on YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, welcome. Thank you for being here and thank you for giving us your time and your ears. So we have a special event, like I said, coming up in September 17th to the 24th. The Emerging African Forum. The theme of that event is Illuminating Africa and the Diaspora. We're trying to accelerate tech investment in Africa and also in the diaspora nation. We have 11 days left now. 11 days, guys. This started a couple months ago. It seems like forever, but it's amazing that we are just gives me around the corner to be able to sit and stand on this world stage and be able to illuminate Africa and the diaspora. So, the Emerging African Forum actually is the signature event of the African Chamber of Digital Commerce. You know, and we are a non-profit organization and we are based here in Minnesota. So we serve as a gateway to the community, the diaspora, and also the continent of Africa. The signature event of the African Chamber of Digital Commerce, ACOFDC, is a digital conflict of elevated ideas and mindsets. We are in the business of solutioning, focusing on accelerating tech investment in Africa and also in the diaspora, like I said, but in a very strategic and impactful way. It's not like we're reinventing the wheel here, but we're just taking existing technology, existing resources and opportunities and accelerating that in a new way using emerging technology. So the Emerging African Forum event seeks to bring together, professionals, founders, investors, and the public sector from Africa and also in the diaspora nation to actually showcase stuff like innovation and at the same time celebrating great accomplishments. And we're gonna have situations where people actually steal some deals, and we really are nailing and focusing down on fostering the private and public partnership ecosystem. So that's just to give you an overview of what the Emergent African Forum event is all about. As we go through this segment, we will be touching on different areas of what this event entails, uh, some information about how you can be connected to it in terms of logistics, and also giving you more details on the background, especially about the Twin Cities startup, which is a huge platform on which we are standing to be able to launch and present. So that being said, I just want to acknowledge Mr. Eric Kaigama, President CEO of the African Chamber of Digital Commerce. He's going to be here, and I want him to start us off and just probably give us a little bit more background and spotlight some of the details at this level of the planning of the event that our guests here need to know about, and also our audience. Eric.
Thank you, Vitalis Tita, and Kelvin Jiraji, Mr. Kojo, David, and Ibrahima, and Dr. Chinedu. Thanks for joining us today. And I just want to say ours is entirely about changing the narrative, and also as people of African descent to take full charge of both the narrative and also to make sure the Africa works for the majority of its citizens. Part of the what we do here is to focus on solutioning. How can we leverage the amazing capacity in the diaspora and also on the continent collectively? Create a platform that encourages, that allows us to engage more consistently in a decentralized way, but more impactfully, collectively. So as an organization, we feel the proximity to resource and institutions, especially for some of us in the diaspora, and also the amazing wealth of just resource that are on the continent. If we are able to work, more consistently together, I think that will accelerate, the impact, on the continent significantly. So we're driven by that, and also the fact that there has to be a change of mindset. And I think I've been to like a dozen or plus, events, both with people in academia and what have you. It has, it always goes back to the mindset. Africa, as Vitalis, said, it's not, we're not reinventing the wheel. The academia has been churning out a bunch of, white papers, God knows since when. And the leadership has always, for whatever reason, in Africa, there's always, we can't just seem to get things, pretty right. And in every journey you require, even during the civil rights, that journey itself, required a lot of, allies, people that believe in the journey and also wanted to contribute, their own quarter to the movement. Look at this as nothing compared to the civil rights, but in terms of, we are an organization that we define Africa scientifically. That means it's a cradle of civilization. It allows everyone to participate, and also to remind everyone that what Africa symbolizes, in our lives. Whatever color you are, green, white, or blue, it has been defined by science, and that's the way we choose to define it. We are an organization that believes in inclusivity. Look at it from a gender standpoint, and just allowing young men and women to come in and interact with amazing brothers and sisters that happen to be geographically out of the continent, but still very invested in its in its success. So ours is we feel there has not been a platform that consistently that is dedicated to just highlighting, creating that safe space for Africans to talk about other things, things that have to do with let's say impact in Africa, the way we feel um, uh, it should be done. It has been always about one thing or the other. It has become a bit of a distraction. And we feel, and in the heart of it, it's about resource. How can we put resource? How can we put resource? Democratize, access to finance, especially. If you look at what over 65% of Africa is rural, how can we? You cannot achieve, digital inclusivity, digital economy, inclusivity without having that part of that major component, also be part of the equation. So we, in the parent organization, ours is to make sure there's absolute 110%, like focus on that area, while others are doing their bit as well, and see how we can have them we can help them, systemize their processes, encourage investors in those areas, investments in those areas, and also vote in the hands of rural entrepreneurs and also rural startups, and just and see how we can also mobilize, within the new billionaires, I say, and the millionaires are getting younger, and there's an absolute disconnect. You don't see them in the country club, I say. There's a disconnect on how African leaders can engage such people with immense resource in their hands to attract, those investments. We feel, the chamber offers that kind of, the platform now for them to be able to do that. And just to give us numbers for some of you that are about numbers, I know Ibrahima and Kojo, and I'm sure Dr. Chinedu has been, who knows, he is aware of those numbers, that the organization that is powering this event that we're going to participate in, where we're so blessed, to be part of, a whole week of investment and all kinds of things, talks on investments and deal making and positioning and strategizing and cultivating relationship. We are going to be part of it, for the first time, to basically lead charge on our narrative and be in our own safe space and allow people to come in and also see some of the people, the very amazing, men and women in our communities and allies as well. So if you look at the numbers, for instance, Better that is powering the startup week, for instance, they've been responsible for they have been responsible for raising funding for over $100 million, and $600 million already for 100 plus startups already. That was in 2019 alone. So they are a very, very serious organization. And then in the Midwest here, if you look at Minnesota, where Vitalis and I are located, both family men, between 2019 and 2020, even with COVID, we've seen a total investment between 2019 and 2020. I think it's about, a little bit more than $3 billion. And this year, we're in a pace to basically surpass what startups did in 2019 and 2020. So the strategy is to bring African projects, closer to resource, and to work with the brilliant, to work with ventures, people like Chinedu that have invested over $5 million already in African startups. The strategy is to position African projects where they can access a little more resource, so that they can get those ideas and also scale their projects to where it becomes, every startup dreams of becoming a unicorn. So that is part of that. We want to be an elemental part of, the positioning and also success stories. We want it to become ubiquitous, as others it has become in Europe and America and other places. So we want to be that component that accelerates that. And I'm glad, to you've all agreed to both speak, during the EF, and also join us here today to share both, a bit about yourself and all the things that we'll get to engage on today. I thank you, Vitalis, and I'll nudge it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Eric. As always, you've done so well, just letting us know what the matter is here with this event. And for our panelists here today and our guests, if you have any questions about the event, you all are going to be stars at the event. So if you have any questions about the event, something that needs some clarification, please feel free. Our conversation here is going to be very casual. I know in the midst of seasoned professionals, and obviously what we share here is going to be valuable for people that are listening or watching, or that will subsequently able to stumble into some kind of a production like that. So again, I appreciate you for being here. So we just gonna go down down the line, and then we're just gonna talk. And I know that some of your conversation is gonna probably be a preview of what you're gonna present here at the EAF, or what you're gonna talk about. But I think it's good to have such type of a teaser out there, and just particular audience and people that are planning to show up at this event to listen to experts. So feel free to go in there and just let us know what's to come. People like to get into that. But yeah, thank you, Eric. Listen to you very keenly, and you've touched on some key points that I would like to use that as a segue, and I'll go first to Mr. Kojo. And I know earlier when I was introducing you, I mentioned the prior conversation before this recording started about the exit. And I'm thinking, two things, right? One, you're exiting when some of us are scrambling to get an entrance. What would be an average, African out there, African in diaspora, no matter where you are, who's trying to find or get a foothold in the fintech industry, and then to find somebody like you that is talking about exit, and so that's a wide spectrum there, It's like, man, what is in all this? So can you break that down a little bit? And secondly, as you talk about that, and before you do that, please, you can introduce yourself a little bit and give a little background so our audience get to know who you are. Secondly, to that, we mentioned about the EAF, and part of our objective is to bring about the opportunity for investments and partnerships to happen that are impact. So what is the difference here between impact and Eric mentioned about these companies becoming unicorns and stuff. So how do we match? How do we match success with impact? How do we match that whole idea of becoming a unicorn and also being able to match that with the impact that we are all desiring for our folks on the continent and here in the diaspora?
Was all that for me, or was it split between all of us?
No, our panelists can jump in, but I'll let you pitch first, please. Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, hi everyone. My name is Kojo Dugan, based in Accra, Ghana, west coast of Africa. And like Vitalis said, basically I've been in tech for a period of over 20 years. Out of an opportunity I recognized back then. Started out in software, specialized software. Back then it was C++, Linux, SQL. Did that, went on, obviously moved on to the business side of tech. Been in cards, in systems, integrations, and eventually payments. And did that till about 2018, where I was with Interpay, and which was, I still is really a payments entity. and really, like I said, well, exiting, it's just a matter of of saying, okay, I think I've got to a stage where either you need to take a back seat or take a step back, or explore new opportunities, right? And really, I think that's what it's about. When you say, you're doing the comparison between exiting and someone now trying to enter. And yeah, I mean, since then I've been trying to enter, let's say, into new markets, new opportunities. It's just, I saw at that time that I wanted to take a step back when the opportunity arose. Yes, company was acquired by a company, also a US-based company called Emergent Technologies. Back then in 2018, and we did some pretty good projects. The digitalization of the national health renewal insurance, and a lot of others for financial institutions, for people investments, wealth tech, insure tech, and a few others. Yeah, basically that's me in a nutshell. But when you mention the opportunities and how to start and how to become a unicorn, I think what I've learned is focus on what you're doing. That's very important. That's, you identify a need at the beginning of your company, of your fintech, your startup, whatever, agri-tech, whatever company you're running, right? And there's definitely a purpose or an objective, a mission that or a vision that you set out to achieve, right? And often, some people may lose track, but if you keep at it and work towards it, it's not an easy journey. It has its hurdles, it has its lessons, and that's what you need to learn. But if you pursue it purposefully, you can make it. Will every company become a unicorn? Perhaps, I don't know. Possibly, I doubt it, but I mean, it can happen. I mean, yeah, keep the hopes up, definitely. And you could become even more than a unicorn, but the thing is to keep at it steadily and progressively, and then manage a team well. That's important. Don't forget the team. Two things. And when we talk about it, back when we're off camera, we're talking about digital transformation now. And David and I were chatting, we're saying that conversation is not, yes, technology is important, but it's not about technology as a project. It's technology as a tool, as a utility. And the main core is about the people, both internal and external. Your customers, your model, as your model addressing their needs, their business needs as well as their social needs, and also internally, the people you have on your team, you need to manage them well. Your corporate culture is very important. What are you doing? How are you getting buy-in from your team? And I guess with that, I mean, hey, there's no limits.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that response. And I guess you have the scars to show for it. You have the sweat and blood that came with that. It's not a walk in the park. So that's we mentioned about mindset, and as much as there are opportunities, we have to work for them. And I think that's probably what happened in this your 20 years career before to the quote unquote exit thing happened. But again, we're looking at emerging technology and the deliberate effort to be able to bring young men and women with their very brilliant, innovative ideas on the continent and the diaspora, to be able to get a foothold again in the sectors and other sectors that will lead to development, right? But again, powered by technology. I've always find it intriguing and sometimes challenging how you can be able to how mindset affects your ability to want to succeed, right? You can have the right ingredients, you could be going after the right product, and then you ended up not being successful because maybe the mindset, the way you perceive that in your mind, outside of the technology in itself, is probably those two not married together is probably what leads to some of the failures that we've seen on the continent. And I just want to go to Ibrahim and see if we can respond to this. And what at the EAF should be a focus that will help young men and women to be able to marry the ideas with their personality and their characters. That way, they can be able to maximize the opportunity to be successful.
Thank you very much for your question. To introduce myself, I'm in Canada, Montreal. I have 20 years of experience in finance, and then I started working as a consultant in 2018 in IT, implementing SAP and Oracle softwares, and helping also companies get more digital finance transformation. And I do business plans for startups, for example, for Canadian startups to get them funding. And I get into entrepreneurship in 2017 when I had the chance to go to San Antonio to work with some African companies that were French companies, and they were trying to seek for funding in San Antonio. And it was very interesting to see how we have great capabilities like in Africa, and I was there to help them like showcase what they were able to do and everything, and it was a great experience. And coming back to your question, I think it's very interesting for us African people to know that we have something like great. We have the capabilities to excel in everything we're doing. I think the only thing I'm asking young people is to dream. They have to dream that they can be the best in everything they're doing. Like wherever they are in Canada, US, or wherever, they have to do their best to achieve their dreams. And help also the young people in Africa, dream that they can make it happen, wherever they are. Like even if you are in Africa, you have to protect that dream. I was referring to Dangote last time I was talking, because I like his way of protecting his dream. He's like always coming back to what he wants to achieve, and always being persistent, right? Wherever you go, whatever can be the challenges, you have always to be persistent. I think that's where I want to start with, and I will just
but let me follow up real quick. It's about the persistency, right?
Yeah.
But also it's about the perception of what success is. And I think that the definition of what success is to a lot of young people in Africa, it's about mindset of, I'm looking at Ibrahim and where he is in his life, and his level of success, and I'm starting out, but my mindset is I want to be where you are maybe next year. Yeah. But it took you that long, right? So how do we begin to let them focus, on the fact that just Mr. Kojo talked about earlier, right? That focus on your grind, like keep going back on it, being consistent, being persistent.
Absolutely.
And that takes time. I think that's the element that I think probably is missing here, is that all of that happens over time.
Yeah.
So when we reason it out, for most people, in my experience, they intentionally just removing the time out of it. I want to be Mr. Kojo tomorrow. I want to be Mr. Ibrahim tomorrow, but not forgetting that they took time. How can we begin to cultivate, if you will, and inject some sort of a narrative that will begin to transform the mindset of actually telling these young men and women and people who are dreaming with big ideas that, look, this takes time and you have to invest in that time, right?
Yeah.
If not, then we begin to give people this whole fantasy of what success is, And that's why we've seen a huge number of them failing and getting discouraged and just abandoning their dream.
Yeah, I think you're perfectly right. It takes time and it takes courage. Like you cannot just start and be successful at what you want, right? It takes a lot of work. Sometimes people don't imagine, for example, the time of work you take like to arrive where you want to go, right? They see you being like successful or popular or something, but they don't know the amount of work you're putting in. Like if you have a like if you have a project, you have to be obsessed with that project, and you have to know that it takes a lot of work to get where you want to go. So look at, we have example, I just mentioned Dangote, but we have a lot of successful entrepreneurs, and if you read their books, what they're saying is that they have been working hard and super hard and believing in their project in a way that if they sleep only 3 hours or 4 hours, they're fine with it, because they know that they have to put in a lot of efforts to get where they're going, right? So to the young people out there, I just tell them, work consistently and work hard, and protect your dream, like I said, and keep working on it. That's the only way you can success. And even if you don't arrive to where you want to be at some like a certain amount of time, like just keep pushing, right? Because one day it's gonna happen.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. That's perfectly said. Thank you, Ibrahim. And let me talk to Mr. David. David, as an AI expert, and you also going to take a moment here and introduce yourself to our audience here and out there. As an AI expert, I don't know how we could be able to use, because again, if you go back 20, 40 years, the cycle of becoming successful, the cycle of going through, say, an idea to where you actually, you're full-fledged out in the market providing your services, your product, it used to take longer. Why? Because the technology we have today didn't exist back then. So, but then we have the technology today, and the AI has become something that is like, in every conversation about how you can be able to scale things and get things working faster and better. So, how can AI help the African young men and women today to be able to scale their ideas, but also how can that make them to be more effective and efficient in being able to connect to the outside world and have access to investors and partnership, which is something that everybody in that sector wants to have to scale. So, in your expertise, what do you think is out there that you can tell the young men and women out there that they could say, hey, invest in AI or use AI in this aspect in order to be able to accelerate your ideas or your innovation?
Absolutely. Vitaly, thank you very much. Thanks for having me. My name is David Edoja. I'm the founder and CEO of Analytics Intelligence. We're a data analytics and an AI company based in the UK and in Nigeria. We are in the process of opening other offices in other parts of Africa as well. Like the other panelists, I've been in technology for about 20 years, been in data analytics for 17 years now. And it's really interesting exactly what's, I've been discussed, everything is changing, a lot is changing. And, before we started the recording, myself and Kojo were talking about the impact of digital transformation and how, basically, if you look at what the pandemic has done, the pandemic has accelerated digital transformation easily by 5 years. What companies were thinking, okay, we're going to start doing, everybody just kind of had to go digital overnight. Yeah. And that is really, really significant, specifically in the space we're in. One, there's a plateau, there's so much data. There was a whole lot of data before, but now it is just where companies are just confused with too much data they're collecting. And you'll be surprised how many companies are not really too savvy in how to use this data to get insights. Secondly, again, part of what we're talking about, and Kojo mentioned it as well, It's really about the cultural change. Yeah, and again, this goes to your question exactly: how do the youths begin to take advantage of artificial intelligence or the use of data or analytics? Um, digital data analytics is really about insight. It's about finding insights within data. You know, a common saying in analytics is the data never lies. Yeah, so if you're collecting data accurately, you'll always get insights in there. But it's having that sort of mindset to be able to find the insights to make decisions. So if you're an entrepreneur, you're trying to do something, exactly what was discussed earlier on before. The youths of today are fascinated by exits. You know, they will read Kojo's story and they say, "Oh wow, I need to connect with Kojo, and it's exited. I need to exit tomorrow." They absolutely don't even think about the work that has gone into it. They read about the success stories and think it just happens overnight. They don't realize it's blood, sweat, and tears. Brahma was just talking about sleeping 3 hours a day. I'm sure most people on this panel probably have loads of time to just sleep in 3 hours, but it's that passion that keeps you going. So there's a couple of things to take from this. One, exactly like Ibrahima, early part of my career, I was working for an organization in the UK helping startups raise finance. It was called Access to Finance, and we used to write business plans for them and give advice. And later down the years, I've been mentors in a couple of entrepreneurs. I'm a mentor in Melu Entrepreneur Foundation. I've been a mentor since they started. But one thing I always tell entrepreneurs and startup is find your passion. Don't get into AI because you know David is in AI and he's making a success of it. Don't get into blockchain because the next person is doing it. Don't get into any business because you think you can. They're doing it and you can do it. Find your passion because it is only your passion that's going to keep you going. If you have something you really believe in, and that just motivates you and keeps you going and keeps you building and keeps you driving. Secondly, do your research. So that's where data comes in. That's where analytics comes in. Look at the success stories. Look at what has worked. Look at economical changes. There's so many things that are driving how businesses work. The gig economy is changing now because the world is changing. Now everybody's working from home. You have this, they're called COVID stocks. That companies that either delivery companies or parcel companies or video conferencing companies, those companies are growing because of the changes happening in the world themselves. So if you're an entrepreneur, learning how to one, find your passion of what you're doing, research and understand a whole lot of more of what's happening, and then make decisions based on that. And to your specific question in terms of where AI and machine learning can come into play, one of the products we have, as a matter of fact, two of the products we have, one is My Data. It's a digital assistant for companies who are short of analysts. It's like a Siri for analytics. You can talk to it, you can email it, you can tell it to join a Zoom call, and it's a natural language processing engine. It understands and can find data and can kind of give you insight. The other product we have is called Powered by AI, and again, this is machine learning as a service. So if you're trying to build an application and you don't understand Python or you don't know how to use creative model or TensorFlow or anything like this, you can tap into this and you get an API key. And we have a plethora of AI models, not just ourselves. We've curated partners that have AI models for facial recognition, for license plate detection, for the list is growing. But the point with that is, we're in a world today where technology is changing a lot of things. You don't have to build things from the scratch anymore. OpenAI just launched a tool called Codex, and what it does is it's a system that literally writes code. So if you think about where the world is going to, programmers could be out of work in 5 years' time because this system is amazing. You tell it, listen, I want a program written in Python. I want an algorithm that does predictive modeling on X, Y, Z, and that is all you need to tell it. It will go in, it will find the data, it will write the code, it will help you filter it. So if you're a developer and if you're a startup or you're an entrepreneur, you've got a great idea, and you're thinking, okay, my limitation is I don't have a developer, I don't have money to get developers. There's so many tools out there that machine learning can help you with that you can actually almost pick and mix. A lot of them are free. Some of them, even if they cost money, don't cost that much money. That will kind of help you get started. It's almost like a launch pad, and we get you the initial technology you need to build on top of that. But if you see these tools and you don't have a passion and you don't have an idea of exactly what you want to do, and you're not putting in that time and effort to gain success, the chances of failure is much higher. Yeah. So as a business, it's an interesting place being in a business, making it successful, because there's a whole lot of course correction that has to happen as you're going along. Yeah, you have to look at what you're doing. You have to look at what the competitors doing. You have to look at how the world is changing, how your customers are changing. You have to look at what the data is telling you. You have to look at that you still have a passion for what you're doing. And based on those things, you keep adjusting. It's like a ship trying to go somewhere. You keep correcting yourself and pivoting where you need to pivot. Because if you don't do that, if you have an idea saying, this isn't the idea I have, I've had it for 5 years now and it's going to work in the next 5 years, it probably wouldn't, because everything is changing at a rapid pace. But the beauty about it is there's a whole lot of data out there that you can use to analyze and get the sort of information you need to get. But even in saying that as well, when talking about data, you equally need to understand from an AI perspective that there's biased data. Yeah. So when you're looking at data, when you're looking at reports, when you're looking at analysis, you have to understand the source of the data or the source of the analysis. Otherwise, it could be biased information. Yeah. If I'm writing about AI, I'll write very glaring information about AI because I'm biased already. It's something I do, it's something I've been doing for a long time. So you need to get a balanced view of what you're looking at. You need to get a balanced view of where the data is coming from, and look to see how other companies are using it as well, because that begins to give you the clearer view on how it can be used. But no doubt about it.
I have a follow-up question. Sorry for interrupting you there, but the data is there. Like you said, because you're an inside person, you have to create some of this data, you create AI and all that stuff. But my challenge is the way I see it is access to data, right? Even the awareness that there's data that I need to access, because if you don't know something exists, you don't go looking for it, right?
No.
So that again, I'm going back to this, guys, because we were privileged in the last 2 weeks to listen to some brilliant young men and women across Africa that were presenting, their startups as an idea that we wanted to showcase at the Emergent African Forum here in Minneapolis. So one of the key things that stood out was the lack of data. They didn't do enough research on looking for data, searching the market, see who's there, what has been done, even what kind of customers are there, trying to get the data on and then do the analytics and analysis and analytics or whatever you call it. So that wasn't there, right? Which is indicative of the fact that we are not maximizing, we're not taking opportunity, especially on the continent, about this resource, the AI resource and the data that is out there that could really kind of open up whole new avenues for these young men and women to take the ideas and even faster. Now, you're asking for investment, you're asking for partnerships, and those folks who come in, that's what they look. They're looking for the data. They're looking for that. They do their research, and if you don't do the same research, then there's going to be a disconnect. And that's why, as much as we push for investment, as much as we push for partnership, will you agree with me that the access to that data and also the utilization of it is kind of limited?
I'll agree with you 101%. It's a known problem on the continent. Myself and Eric even discussed this just yesterday. It's both a challenge and an opportunity, where there's an opportunity for governments to start with, to begin to take more awareness in where the world is heading to, and begin to take more responsibilities. Exactly what we're talking about earlier on, about central banks now adopting cryptocurrency. They've got to wake up to it, because it is going to happen whether they like it or not. So they've got to take that responsibility, but they're not waking up to the fact that data is becoming such a key thing. And there are lots of foreign powers that are in Africa that are gathering the data that the government should be managing. Now, I'm not saying, countries in Africa should become dictatorial states where they're collecting data on everybody and playing big brother, but there needs to be that level of awareness where, even for government organizations, government should be the first place you should go to when you're looking for data. If I'm looking for data in the UK, I know the place I need to go to, because the government is already gathering and making data available for people. Secondly, another challenge with that is, even though there's data being collected in certain places, it is very unstructured. So, and that is a big problem. you can process unstructured data, but it's a much bigger work task to do than processing structured data. But the best way of doing it, so the philosophy we use within the organization is reverse engineering. So we think about what the end goal is. And so, okay, if we want to achieve X, Y, Z, we want to get this level of insights, we want to use it for X, Y, Z projects, what data, what metrics, what dimensions, what segments do we need? And then once we identify them, we go back to the clients or go back to the source and say, well, this is the data we need, and this is how it should be structured. So once you think from the end, you can go back all the way back to say, okay, this is how you need to get to that point. It's a bit of a challenge. There's no doubt about it. Entrepreneurs on the continent are faced by this challenge of finding where to get the right data. But there's data out there, and if you can't find the data, start gathering data because it is an asset. It is an asset not just to yourself. It's an asset that you could monetize to as you get in the market itself. So yeah.
Thank you so much. That is why the ACOFDC for a little plug-in here exists. That we can create more awareness and create channels for young men and women and business owners to be able to access critical information that will really kind of accelerate, their growth in producing what they want to produce and providing the service that they have. Let me. I don't know. Yes.
Hi. Yeah, if I may comment, David mentioned about monetizing the data, which is totally correct. But just to add a bit to that, sometimes people think when you mention monetizing data, they think it's about collecting your data and selling the information about you, right? Yeah, I mean there are some who do that, but that's not necessarily the case. It's about knowing that perhaps David likes wearing blue shirts, right, or a blue jacket. Yeah. So what do I do? I pick out a number of shops that retail, blue jackets, and I go to David and I say, hey, David, this is a lineup of the jackets available. Choose on, try it for size and style and fitness and everything. And that's what when we talk about monetizing the data, it also includes. It's not just David is 6 feet, so I go and give it to David. David is $10. That's, I mean, there's that, but there's also the other model. Just to add in, and I think we all agree on that on this panel. It's just again, because of the audience we're speaking to, we need to make that clear.
Very clear. Absolutely. And Kojo, thanks for that. And just to, I know, but just to on the very point Kojo just made. So one of the areas I focus in is behavioral science, where you look at people's behavior and you make predictions. So if you think about an e-commerce business from the Amazons to a lot of the really large ones, they have thousands of data scientists just looking at behavior. Now, what's interesting about the data is there's no PII, there's no personal identifiable information in the data based on privacy policies and GDPR and all the privacy policies going on around the world. So you can't really say, user 43680 is David Adoja. It's just user 43680. Nobody knows who the hell user 43680 is. But there's enough data in terms of behavior because machine learning and algorithms need data to learn. So the more you can provide that, the more you can provide. And this is really to improve your services. It's not just a case of collecting data for collecting data's sake. Personalization is done so that you can improve conversion and you can improve people's behavior. You can improve how people experience your site to a large extent. But another thing as well in terms of monetizing the data is in research. So, Data Monitor, which is a company in Europe, there's loads of companies like that just they sell research information. How is this sector growing in Africa, or how is this market growing? They don't have people on ground. They don't have field agents in Africa. I can guarantee you this because I've really looked into it. That is providing them key data. They find companies that are already gathering data and they partner with them and say, listen, you've already done a level of research. How do we partner together so that we can use some of your research to sell to people who are interested in the market? World Bank and organizations that are trying to invest in the African continent cannot make a decision without data. They are not even allowed to. So they need research to be able to say, this this is the sector that is growing, or this is the sector that needs, or this is the demographic of the population that needs certain help. But if they don't have that data, if the government is not providing that data, this is where the opportunity is for the private sector.
Absolutely. Well said. Thank you, David. Also, Kojo, thank you for that that response in clarifying, making sure that the information is complete, and this is some really good stuff here. So thank you all, and I'd like to I don't know if Mr. Chinedu is available. If not, I'd like to go to Jiraji. Jiraji is head of communications here, but he's also a leader in his as an entrepreneur, working with young men and women and trying to see how they can set up and start businesses. What I'd like to get your perspective, Kelvin, before I go to Dr. Chinedu here in a minute. I'd like to get your perspective. What do you see in terms of the experience of these young men and women in trying to use data as part of the the development process for their businesses?
Yeah, thank you. One of the challenges for young people, particularly entrepreneurs here in Nigeria and vis-a-vis Africa, is knowledge and its application, especially as regards data. Over time, from the government to our everyday life, from our household, we've not been able to actually look at much value or attach much value to data. Incidentally, what drives digital transformation today is data. Data is one of the key drivers of digital transformation, and it's gradually catching us unawares, particularly young people. For those of us in entrepreneur, the tech space, we are beginning to live up to the challenges, and that's why a good number of us are tilting towards fintech, leveraging on data and technology, and a whole lot of emerging technology, so to speak, to be able to give financial penetration or financial inclusion to our rural folks or to our teeming population. So what is actually lacking is data. And I think it's high time we begin to educate our people. It's high time we begin to create platforms like this that could give young entrepreneurs like myself to be able to network with people like Edoja who are out there, who have over 20 years experience, to begin to tap into their wealth of knowledge, so that I will in turn be of benefit back to my home community here in Benue and Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kevin, for that. Good work you're doing out there with these young men and women. Keep it up. Africa needs leaders like you. Thank you, sir, and thank you for being here and for the great work you're doing towards the organizing of the Emergent African Forum coming here at the Twin Cities. So always appreciate to have you. It's a feel of comfort, I must say. I just got to say that because you're an amazing guy. I just want to acknowledge also the presence of Mr. Sam Masakwai. He's VP Corporate Tech at JP Morgan and Chase. And so welcome, sir, to the ACOFDC podcast in the EAF organizing on the heels of the EAF. Welcome. It's good to see you here. And we'll get to you and give you a moment to introduce yourself here shortly. But let me get to Dr. Chinedu, who's been waiting. I have a question for you here, sir, if you don't mind. And I know you're in the investment space. And Eric mentioned earlier that, you and your team has probably invested up to $5 million, for startups on the continent. And I'm just wondering, what are the things that you take into consideration, given the fact that we are actively working to get startups and young entrepreneurs to be able to be ready or investment ready for the rest of the world to come in and help them scale their product or their service. What is that criteria? What can you tell us is some of the things that you look out for which will become then as a tool, as a lesson for those listening to this to say, hey, I got to start taking care of it.
Well, thanks for having me, Vitalis. Also, it was a pleasure to meet you all, David, Sam, Ibrahima, Kojo. Great conversations, Kelvin as well, obviously Eric. It's a great conversation so far. A lot of knowledge that's been expounded here. Specifically, Vitalis, your question. Obviously there's a lot that we look at. Every startup is different, every company is different. Just like David said, you can present all of the business plans in the world. I think one thing that's consistent is when you see individuals who are passionate about what they do, who are following strict, who are trying to solve a problem. It's not just about jumping into, borrowing words from David as well, not just jumping into what's involved. You see it, you have a skill, you see a problem and you want to solve it. And you have a clear track on how to solve that. Anybody can write a business plan, but it's usually pretty clear once you meet some of these entrepreneurs, just based on, obviously we're not saying we're ignoring business plans and numbers, but just looking at, the areas of impact, the team that they have behind them, the passion, the commitment that they put into all of that. So all of these put together, helps us to be able to identify, the types of startups that we invest in. But yes, I'm a co-founder of Relatives Ventures. It's interesting that most of you all here have built companies, have exited and stuff like that, and that word exit, which is what started this meeting today, is very key in the sense that who are participating, in those exits, and that's where we come in. Really, I think that young people are doing great stuff. There isn't much more for me to say about that. There's a lot of products out there in IT, fintech, blockchain, and all of that. But our mission as a group, really, it's not necessarily just from the point of view of an investment company or a VC or anything like that. It's about, are we participating? Before big data. Well, now we're in the period of big data. Before that, there was oil, there was industrialization, and all of that, and previously, obviously, the extraction of the world, mines and all of that, diamonds, gold, and everything that been exported from Africa. To what level did we participate? Almost zero. And when we're talking about participation, we're talking about the last, in terms of, you might have investments coming to Nigeria, for example, or anywhere in the world, and they mine gold and mine oil, and then it goes back to Europe and all of that. But at the end of it all, what does the wealth end? It's not in Africa. And where we come from is to get everyone like us to participate in that. And that's really what we Vitalis, I know I'm kind of like going away from the initial question, but I always have to state that, especially when I meet new friends. That's where what our mission is. And I think what is different today is that technology, the ability to connect, gives us the ability to do that, to do things that we would not be able to do 5 years ago or 10 years ago.
So just as a follow-up, we're going to showcase some of these startups from Africa at the EAF. And I'm considering you at this point as one of those potential investors that will be looking at some of these companies to see if, they're viable for you to be able to say, I want to come in and be a partner and support. What would you say, as somebody in that space, what would you say ahead of time in terms of an advice for these startup companies? Something that they need to do or have in order before they can be able to take this stage and teach to the rest of the world the idea.
Well, like I've already said, and again, just echoing what David said, you have to have a clear vision of a problem that you want to solve and how you want to solve it. It's as simple as that, and as can be as complex as that. The exit is not the primary focus. Is what problem are you trying to solve? And it's, for Africa particularly, we're plagued with a lot of problems. And, the way that I see it is the problems are just opportunities, So, yes, we have a lot of problems, but those are a whole lot of opportunities as well. Mm-hmm. If you have, a solution to a problem, then I personally, as an individual, want to hear about it. It's as simple as that.
Okay, and I think that really helps answer also that question I'd asked earlier to Mr. Kojo about where does this whole idea of unicorn match impact, right? Is that you're solving a critical problem in your community, and I think if that's the focus, it's a win-win, because then you become a unicorn and you also helping advance your society or your community. And I think in terms of the knowledge and mindset, that's where I think it's very important. Thank you, Dr. Chinedu, as always. Please stay tuned and contribute as we continue this conversation. And I just want to welcome our audience on YouTube. You're watching us on YouTube. This is the ACOFDC EAF podcast. This is our first episode and our first edition. And we welcome you. And our focus of conversation today is about the Emergent African Forum, and we're talking about some of the presentations, some of the ideas, and the conversations that we're going to be having at the Twin City Startup Week. And this is happening in September this month. We are barely 11 days to go that event, and the days that I really want you to kind of circle on your calendar is September 20th and September 22nd. So we are having a hybrid event. So we're going to have a virtual event on the 20th and also an in-person event on the 22nd, which also will be streamed live. So we bring in technology and all of this to make it more convenient for you wherever you are in the world to be a part of it. We believe that this is historic. We believe that this is actually a signature event, as we stated, and we want to make it so. So there's so much in it for you to be a part, or also to benefit from. And so we encourage you to tune in, or even if you want to be here in Minneapolis and share the stage with us, connect and mingle with us, and find new friends, new partners. Get plugged into different ideas and things that can help, scale your business or get your business into, all your ideas into a business idea that you can roll up and eventually solve a problem in society, like Dr. Chinedu stated. So with that said, let me go to Mr. Sam, and then I'll come to you, Eric, because I want your perspective on what the Chamber is doing to be able to bring all of this together and serving as a confluence, in order to facilitate these types of investment, facilitate these types of partnerships, and also facilitate the preparation and readiness of startups on the continent and also in the diaspora. So, Mr. Sam, again, it's good to see you, sir. Thank you and welcome here. I know you're a very busy man there in New York. I'm hoping to visit you someday. But I'm just happy you're here with me. And so we're having this conversation here about, we started with the exit, and then it snowballed into a whole idea of startup readiness. We got into AI and data access. And throughout the way, it's about challenges of knowledge and also how we can be able to access finance. And you in that finance stage or sector ecosystem, What is it? And then before you say that, I want you to introduce yourself and also give a little background for our audience. What is the banking system doing today, especially you sitting in one of the biggest banks in the world? What are you doing for the continent and in trying to be able to spur this kind of growth that we are encouraging here? Thank you.
Okay. Well, firstly, good was morning where I am. I'm in Houston, Texas, at the current moment between New York and Houston. So good morning, good evening, wherever you guys are, respectively. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here today. I'm Sam Massaquoi. I'm VP at a corporate technology and machine learning. Okay, I'm team lead. My expertise and job primarily involve scaffolding all of the engineering aspects of artificial intelligence, machine learning, etc. for the firm. Okay, so it's a very arduous task, but it's fun. It's something that I lead various teams in the bank, and it's fun, doing it, with lots of things that we do deliver to put, JP Morgan as the #1 bank in America. So it's been a pleasure being in a position where I've gotten exposed to the entire, the entire stack of what AI involves, and then also to sort of like start from zero, right? So basically my job is, now that we're talking about AI in Africa, and I heard a few of the gentlemen, expound, how can we build capabilities, et cetera. So that's something where from ground zero, I come in and I laid all of the scaffolding, to enable, anybody who's have literally nothing to have all the two sets you need, the environment, from the computation aspect of things, to layers of, where you do all of your filtering to networking, et cetera. So it's a pleasure, being a part of this noble group. And in answering your question with finance, I know for a fact I can speak of any other banks in the United States. I can only speak of JP Morgan and what they have been doing. I know within the African American community here in America, they have pumped hundreds of millions of dollars, into STEM projects. They have even opened up some hubs in some high schools, to facilitate, machine learning, at a very formative age of students, And I started working along with Eric in this endeavor that, hey, let's get in contact with some of my managers at the bank to see whether or not we can start sort of like a new collaborative partnership. And as Eric is aware, I've already opened your channel and he has communicated directly. And I brought forth two individuals, one who was my former boss at JP Morgan. Now he's at a Google. He has access to lots of funding, and his group has hundreds of millions of dollars that they're looking forward to bringing out AI projects to Africa. And he has on his belt an AI project that he spearheaded in Uganda. And then one of the managing director of corporate technology and machine learning, we reached out to him. He's my boss, and I'm following up with him to see whether or not we can open this new agreement, in partnership. So that's something that we have started as a journey.
Thank you, Sam. I know, Vitalis. I know he was, he did. He's not in 100%. He had quite a rough a few days. I think a good night in New York. I think he was, But thank you, anyways. I know you're still not 100%, Sam. You were supposed to be on silent, but we appreciate you getting on camera and saying a bit of. Absolutely, we appreciate that. Absolutely. Get some rest, Yeah.
Okay. I'm a bit under the weather, so I kind of sound kind of sluggish and haggard. So my apologies, but being a trooper, I just thought that it was incumbent for me to be here, and I'll be ready for, on the 20th, and I'm one of the guest speaker, so I will be ready.
Yeah.
I will have fully recovered. I'm almost about 80%, so I'll be ready to do a go.
Man, if you're not 100% and you sound that good, I don't know how you're gonna sound like when you're 100%, man.
Yeah. But that's lots of things with my expertise also, aside from artificial intelligence, machine learning, the full stack and everything. I'm also have great experiences in the blockchain technologies. Have started certain startups. Have a couple of a coin. Even I'm going to speak about the new Fire coin. Now, and that goes hand in hand with the concept of illuminating Africa. So that's something that I share with Eric, which I'm going to speak on. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
Exciting. Wow.
Yeah.
If you're listening to us or watching us on YouTube, this is exciting. So if you don't want to be here in Minneapolis, so tune in on that 20th. Well, you just got a reason why to do so. So I encourage you all to come on board. New things are happening from within our own community. It's time for Africa to provide solutions to its own problem, and we have just that here. We're illuminating what is there to be able to apply to different challenges that we're having. And I think Sam, you bring some heavy muscles there. So I appreciate you, brother, for being able to speak even under the weather and saying all the things that you just said. It's just it's just exciting for me, motivating, if you will, and I'm more inspired to know that people like you, with the types of connections and where you're sitting, are willing to say, hey, let's work this out, let's get this done, and the likes of David and Ojo and Ibrahim and Dr. Chinedu. These are people of like mind, they all feel the same way. They all share that vision and that passion that you bring here, Sam, and we all are together. And it's just something I just want to mention that, so it brings you this warmth of feeling, right? That knowing that you're in the company of like-minded people, and we're marching to the same goal, and it just makes it lighter that way. So thank you, I appreciate that, and we're looking forward to hearing more from you, especially on the 20th here at the Twin Cities Startup Week, the Emergent African Forum. We are taking the world stage, so join us. It's going to be exciting. You're going to have a very exciting conversation. We have women in tech conversation coming up to encourage the girl child out there in Africa that dreams can actually come true, and that there's a space for women, and women have just equal amount of responsibility and contribution towards the development of Africa using technology. So with that said, I'm going to go to Mr. Eric, and let him jump in here. I know he's got a whole lot to say about what the conversation here actually comprises of. Eric, I'll give you that chance, and then we'll segue into another section. Thank you.
Thank you, Vitalis, and thank you for the opportunity. And I think Sam is a demonstration of absolute, the mindset, we've been advocating for. And a good example is, last year, Sam is of, Liberian descent, just FYI. But that is not even what we're trying to highlight, right? Last year, he was a keynote speaker with the Vice President of Nigeria at the Nigeria, Diaspora and Investment Summit. And what we wanted to basically demonstrate there is it doesn't matter what part of Africa you're from. Okay, the focus is Africa. Anything that adds value to the continent, we should be able to leverage the Ibrahimas, the Davids and the Kojos and everybody. It doesn't matter what part of Africa you're from. Just like Vitalis, you've gone to Uganda with projects and doing so many things in Uganda. Why? And ancestrally, you're from the Cameroon. That is not our mindset. Our mindset is the continent itself. If you reside on it geographically, if you're dislocated, let's say like 100 million of us, like in Salvador Bahia, we want to connect with our community, see how we can use technology to leverage, to basically see how we can use technology to have them access, things where that society doesn't allow them to access, especially when it comes to empowerment. especially when it comes to finance. We know everything, revolves around finance. If you're building wealth, if you're a small, if you're one of within the SME, whichever one you're part of, or small, medium, or big, you're so, whichever one you are, you require some kind of finance, to get done. So we're de-emphasizing, where we're coming from, ancestrally on the continent, but more like, what brings us, what unites us is, the continent itself, we're able to leverage one another significantly. And now before I even kind of touch on the EF stuff, my question is to Dr. Chinedu touched on, most of the investments, even in the past that have gone to Africa, did find their ways, back, to those that invested, took them back with a heftier, wallets, right? What I love about what the Chinedus of this world are doing is, just imagine what we could do if we mobilize our own resources, that the diasporans, and put it back in the economy, and it multiplies, and then it still stays within the community, and we're able to employ, that means more employment, for Africans, and what have you. So I like the fact that we're focusing on, okay, what can we do collectively, using that mindset that already has been cultivated and has been deployed by the likes of Chinedu and Lagdabo and others, and also to see, okay, within the tech ecosystem as well, Kojo, what can we do with the likes of Vitalis, myself, and others that are in the diaspora? How can we consistently engage and do more? That's what I want Ibrahima and Kojo, and also I just want Masquai to kind of rest a little bit, and Chinedu to kind of touch on, because we're going to be examining that during the EF. How can it's about solutioning? How can we accelerate that engagement and also collaboration amongst us to do something more significant? And before you answer that, I know at the EAF, we want to show brilliance, among, kind of, part of it is we're going to have Professor Kelly. He's going to be launching a book on disruptive, technology, blockchain, the crystal ball. And I've been in Minnesota. I don't think there's anybody that has launched any book yet on any emerging tech yet. And I think it's something that of absolute pride to me to have someone like Prof, come in and launch a book. And also we will demonstrate 2 use cases as well that can significantly impact the continent, which is how can we use true fractional methodology to basically finance infrastructures in rural Africa and other parts of the continent. And also we're going to demonstrate how we intend to use the whole diaspora bank concept, leveraging the blockchain technology as well to supplement what the administrators, the government are already doing on the continent. This 2 use cases will demonstrate what has been written in the book, and also what can be implemented potentially during the EF. It's going to happen on the 20th, but it's going to be a private event. So be on the look. Just keep an eye on your emails. We're going to send you those private, those Eventbrite, so that you can sign up and register. Even if you can't be in person, we're going to send you the virtual link so that you can be in you can still view the activities, the private event activities. We'll project, we're going to be on Zoom like this, and then we're able to project it on the projector wall, and kind of just be kind of immersed in the procession as well. But we're absolutely excited. And back to the question, how can we do more? Some of us in the diaspora, I'm so proud of what Dr. Chinedu is doing, because I haven't met anyone within that space, especially the VC world, that is that's writing checks, especially to and then somewhat exclusively to Africans, and also to have people that are experienced that are in the tech space like Kojo and Ibrahima that are incorporated in top, top notch, and the Master Choir also doing leveraging all their expertise and their network within their orbit to help us, see more, create more opportunities for people of African descent both here in Africa. So starting with Mr. Kojo, how can we do more? How can we, some of us here and you're back there on the continent, how can we have more of those partnerships with the Chinedus and others to accelerate the flow of capital onto the continent and create more.
I think generally, I mean, events such as this is bringing us all together. This is my first time meeting and having a discussion with the likes of Chinedu and David and Masakwe and Ibrahima. Events like this does help to bring more minds on board. Objectively, basically, it's a matter of learn and relearn and sharing. Those in the diaspora, you do have some knowledge and skills, bring that on board, but also learn from the local communities. I've always, this is not to, especially knowing Sam, and so I would, maybe JP Morgan and others who are with different bags, but I've always, liked the HSBC slogan, which had to do something about, is it global outlook, local insight, something to that. I mean, words to that effect. Basically, yes, bring on board the exposure, the talents, the resources that you have, but be mindful of local nuances and content. And that's basically that's a way to succeed. And networking events like this, because both diaspora and local and the people on the content do have resources that when put together can really achieve impact and what we are all seeking for.
Awesome. I would love to hear from either Dr. Chinedu. You can go first, and then Ibrahima. Still on that topic, on the fact that what can we do more on both sides to kind of just in a way fuse both our capacities on both ends and do more to kind of just power this continent after post-COVID especially. And get it, and get the capital, good projects and the resource we're blessed with, and kind of just power it through to its greatness that have been vaunted, all years and years and over. Because I don't believe in Africa is the future. I believe in Africa is now. Now is just like it's been mismanaged terribly. So your thoughts on that?
Yeah, certainly. Again, the what we propose, obviously, or the solutions are in twofolds, right? The people who are trying to solve the problems and those who are providing the funding and the nurturing, the growth to help them grow in achieving their goals. There isn't a lack of ideas. There's a whole lot of ideas, companies, people out there looking to solve problems and looking for funding. So that in itself, and there's a lot of good ones out there as well. So that in itself is one piece of it. The other piece is the funding, and that's where coming as getting not just funding, but getting people to participate. Africans, especially us in the diaspora. So, and that's really the crux of what we do is, it's really getting people like the 1.7 million Nigerians in diaspora, probably over 10 million Africans, in diaspora, to be able to, to see reason where coming together as a unit or multiple blocks or multiple units can then be that force that can make a difference in the continent. Now, whereas several of people that I know of African descent, just out of either passion or wanting to contribute, have projects, that they do in very small scale. I also consider that like, mom and pop shops, like we have back home, that our parents were involved in, that generation and all of that. But now it's no, this is a time for us to go big. If you were gonna, purchase land in Lekki and build a home, as your investment, great. But hey, you can team up with 1,000 other diasporans and do a mega in anywhere in Africa, and that it will be considered an investment. That would be an investment that would not only contribute to the housing shortage, but also be something that would grow your investments. That's as simple as it is. Without necessarily we can then look into the PPP model. Get involved in infrastructural development, not just in IT. Or in fintech. So what the thing that keeps me up at night really is getting the rest of us to come on board, and knowing that, we've put together a conduit to make this, in the most seamless and way possible. Obviously, this is then, this message obviously is towards getting, especially the accredited investors, to participate. And it really, I think where this conference helps is to get the word out that there are people like all of us on this call who are passionate about making a difference, and we can be able to do it. We can do more if we're able to come together to do it. So, like I usually would say, yes, we may have written checks, but a lot of these checks came from regular people. We're not privileged. We're trying to be a little humble here, but most of us are just regular people. What we found was just strength in numbers, really. And we've been able to prove that model, in just less than a few years. And before we even became a company, was where we even did the most of what we did. But now we're like, okay, this model works. We need to get this message out to the rest of the diasporans, because we can use this model to make a huge difference. And I don't know of a better way to do that than when we're able to bring diasporas together on an umbrella or multiple different umbrella towards targeted projects in Africa, because not only are we able to deliver the kind of development that we want, we then own them. And that, for me, is where we are. That's our mission, essentially.
Thank you, Dr. Chinedu. And Ibrahim, just if you could touch on that, what in your capacity you think, someone I know, there are two components to you, first being an African and also Francophone, right? And also navigating that, especially you're in Canada, you're in North America. How can we de-emphasize, the barrier that is language amongst Africans, and say, we don't worry about language, we just have to find a way to work together. It doesn't matter, language that the Europeans brought, right? And let's get to work more. So what should we? I want you to touch on that. What should we be doing more? Some of us that are outside over here in the diaspora, and some of our brothers and sisters on the continent. What should we be doing more, and to make sure we create more opportunities for brothers and sisters on the continent? Now that the unemployment numbers are staggering, and then when you're done, Idoja can touch on it, and then the VP Vitalis can help.
Yeah, I think it's like it's a great idea. For example, this type of forum where we are able to I would say have the diaspora and also the African people, right? We are able to discuss project opportunities. We bridging we actually doing some bridge, right? Because I agree that from Africa, we can do a lot of things because me, for example, I want to create a hub in Africa, like especially in Francophone Africa, for IT guys, to help Canadians and, US companies. Because in Canada right now, we have like lack of skilled IT. Yeah, and like, for example, me being at Deloitte and Ernst and Young, we always asking for resources, and I'm seeing a lot of potential, a lot of skilled people in Africa, like Francophone Africa, and even in Nigeria, I have like worked with some people there. Like I'm seeing a lot of skilled people that are not having the opportunity, while there are a lot of opportunities in US and in Canada, especially, where people are searching for people to do the work, right? So to me, like let's try to do the connection. Let's try to create hubs in Africa. We have now a data center. We have everything we need. So I can just take an example. Last time I was working with a Nigerian woman. Maybe some of you may know her, but she was translating some French audios for some clients in France, and the people I was using for that work was in Senegal. So you see, Senegal, Nigeria, France. To me, like the world is connected now, right? So we as leaders, wherever we are, we have to create this platform so that we can make a lot of African people work together to solve issues that are actually in US, in Canada, regarding this labor skill.
Awesome. Thank you, Ibrahima.
Thank you.
Doja, the same subject.
Thank you.
What can we do more? You're in the UK, and you're both at the diaspora and also someone that shuttles between those two continents frequently. What do you think we should do more, amongst us, to accelerate what is happening within the ecosystem? Resource, mentoring, especially like, in the chamber, as Vitalis has touched, acceleration, incubation, and mentoring. What should we be doing more so that we get out of COVID? When we post-COVID, we're not struggling. We're actually we're this collaboration, or this just bringing our capacities, jointly to just power this continent, to kind of just leave excuses and focus on building and kind of just creating amazing and enormous opportunities for our brothers and sisters of the continent. And then
I think with the responses given by almost every member of the panel that's spoken just before me, there's a clear theme. The having platforms like the ACOFDC is vital to be able to bring thought leaders together to kind of guide the continent. I've said this a million and one times, and I keep saying it. Africa needs to wake up to what's happening in the world. Africa needs to wake up to the changes that's happening in the world, and governments need to begin to play a role. I focus on a specific industry, so what we're doing is, but even if you go on our website, one of our missions is to ensure that we put Africa on the AI map. There's a whole lot of organizations and a whole lot of countries that, UK has a minister of artificial intelligence. It's not a joke anymore. Yeah, there's countries are beginning to wake up to the fact of where the world is changing to and how the impact technology is facing. Now, for the continent to be able to do more, thought leaders need to come out. People who are experts in the industries, who are in the diaspora. It doesn't matter where they are. It's quite pleasing to see everybody on this call from Canada, from the US, from Ghana, Nigeria, and there are more. We just need to bring more and more people who are thought leaders to kind of guide. And I think if there's a voice like what the ACOFDC is doing, a strong enough impact, people begin to take notice. And I think that's very much what the Emergent African Forum is about. It's about getting that platform and being on the stage to be able to say, okay, listen, yes, there's a combination of thought leaders. We have people who are expert within in industry, and we're beginning to take a stance for it. Another key thing that I think is absolutely vital is education. It doesn't matter what field you're in. It doesn't matter if it's technology or agriculture or blockchain or fintech. That educational piece where we need to get people to begin to understand more and more of how they can do things a whole lot better. We talked earlier on about the impact of data in terms of driving decision making. I think that level of education needs to be taught more to entrepreneurs on the continent. Yeah, there's a whole lot of drive to raising finance and I'm sure Dr. Chinedu can attest to this. You get loads of people who don't really have a strong enough idea. They just think, I've read that Flutterwave has raised money and I want to raise money too, and I don't believe in what I'm living. There needs to be that educational piece for people to understand what they're getting into, so that they can put the level of commitment. Because with that commitment comes responsibility. You have to deliver on what you need to deliver on. And I think that is something that needs to be done a whole lot more within the continent. I think ACOFDC can play a pivotal role in getting thought leaders to begin to work on programs to kind of educate people in different areas they're in. We're starting a program very soon that we're working with Sutherland University in the UK. Education around data science and around AI is a very big thing. At least we're definitely pushing towards it. We've worked on a curriculum that can be adopted by different universities. We've got 3 universities in Nigeria already that's going to be participating in that. We've created an AI lab, and we've created something called AI Academy. And the whole idea of this is really to begin to get the message out. As a matter of fact, the project I talked about earlier on that we're doing called Powered by AI is API machine learning models as a service. Yeah. So if you want to get to a point where you're building technologies and you're building applications that need recommendation engines or that need, object detection or things like that. I met somebody the other day, a Nigerian in Nigeria that's working on a self-driving car. And you begin to think, hang on, are we even, if you know anything about Lagos, you think, how is it possible you're going to train a model to be able to drive a self-driving car in Lagos? But it's a problem that, if you've got the will to be able to address it, you might not solve it directly, but, there's already another project where a company is collecting data for every object on the road. So they've got a library of over 100,000 objects digitized for machine learning training. So there's actually a lot of things happening, but people need to be aware of it. That level of awareness and education needs to go out. So I think, in my view, those are the 2 key things. One, thought leaders need to come together. It doesn't matter what country, exactly as was mentioned earlier on, as Ibrahim mentioned, it doesn't matter if you're in Nigeria, if you're in Senegal, or if you're in Kenya. We can work collectively as a team and kind of help get the continent to where it needs to be. Supporting organizations like ACOFDC to get the word out there and to get us on the platform is equally key for the world to take notice that, we're not just sitting back and waiting for us to be dished anything. We're at a stage now where we need to take our own destiny by our hands. And if we as thought leaders don't come to the forefront and say, this is how it needs to be done, we're going to be fed anything. I was just reading something on the forum now about how Ghana is one of the largest producers of gold, and only 2% of Ghana only owns 2% of the gold in the country, and they have to get loans to buy the gold back. Now, it's something we can joke about, but it is happening already. Chinese governments and loads of governments are gathering data in the African continent that the governments themselves are not even aware that is happening. And it might not be for monetization. It might just be a case of either the government providing data for research. So if organizations like Dr. Chinedu's company or other foreign organizations want to come and invest in the continent, they have informed decisions to say, okay, these are the sectors that they need to invest in. If entrepreneurs want to build businesses, they have an idea of where the growth markets are and what they need to be doing. So there's a lot of things that we need to come together to kind of put in place. But I think having these conversations and bringing it out to the forefront is a key starting point.
That's well said. What is stopping us, by the way? What's stopping us from this uh, collaboration? We find synergy, but somehow it's we can't seem to consummate that synergy in being able to work together on projects and on things like this. So what I'm just curious, what do you think is that impediment?
In my view, I don't think there's anything really stopping us. This call, this podcast is a testament to the fact that we can work together and get things done. You know what ACOFDC is doing on the forum, and if you look at the chat and if you look at the contributions from different places, it's clear indication that there's an appetite and there's a hunger to actually do this. The problem might just be distraction. Everybody's caught up in their own world. Everybody's caught up in doing what they need to do. Everybody's caught up in making progress they need to make, and you can kind of get disconnected every now and again. Yeah. It is that level of responsibility that, and I can't stop commenting, and Eric knows this. The efforts you guys are making in ACOFDC to actually pull all this together. Yeah. That in itself is passion. That in itself is something that, as I'm passionate about what I'm doing, and Dr. Tinedu is passionate about what he's doing, and Kojo is passionate about what he's doing. Having that passion to be able to pull these resources together is something that needs to be recognized and commended. So I think it can be done. I think more organizations like the ACOFDC needs to come out to the forefront, and finding thought leaders to participate and make them understand that their contribution is a key thing. I think is really vital.
Yeah, just to add to that, I mean, nothing is stopping us really, Vitalis. We just have to get started. Yeah. It's only human nature for there to be a little bit of an inertia or resistance to anything that's starting. And a good example is just, it's us as a company. It started on WhatsApp. It wasn't anything serious. It started on WhatsApp. Just just like we have, several forums on WhatsApp, put a few people together and just say, hey, this is serious. Let's put resources together and start to get things done. So, for us, this is actually a proof of concept. But it also required a lot of engagement, which is what, I admire about what ACOFDC is doing, is that consistency. It requires a consistency, continued engagement, networking. Eventually it's a people thing. If you bring people together and we're able to show them the clear vision, and we're able to lay out what it is that we intend to achieve, people will latch onto it. And we only just got started, Yeah. And 10 years from now, we'll still be just started because, these things, where we're trying to be today, and to emulate or exceed what other countries or continents have done, didn't happen overnight. I think for us, this is only a start, and we just have to keep going.
We're just getting started. I like that. Thank you so much, Dr. Chinedu.
You're welcome.
David, and I appreciate everybody here. And I'm a strong believer of what the mind can do. And your mind is who you are and is what you can produce. So my mind is to see how I can promote the knowledge, like we've talked about here. It's lack of knowledge, but the kind of knowledge I'm talking about is the knowledge of self. The ability to be able to understand purpose, finding yourself what your purpose is, not what somebody says you are. Those are the things that bring passion, because again, it is part of you, in it. So find purpose, understand that you have potential to be able to fulfill that purpose, and then also understand that there are principles that you need to adopt in your life in order to regulate the way that success is going to come about. So those are the three things I preach about and I talk about. And I'm coming up with a company called MindTech. And the MindTech is to be able to see how, we can come up with a program that will lay this foundation on these three principles that I just talked about. And I think it's going to do tremendous things for people in terms of being able to give give them the ability to take what they have, be your technology, being a product, being a service, or whatever it is, and then be able to run with that, and it definitely just guarantees success. Because I see over and over on the continent, we have great ideas, great innovations, great products that we come up with, but they just fizzle out in no time. And there's no other reason that the perception of how to go about that is the greatest influence of how that product is gonna excel. And unfortunately, most of them fall flat because of our mindset. So that's my belief. And when that company launches, I'm expecting a check from all of you guys. So especially you, Dr. Chinedu. That said, let's go back as the EAF coming up. I just want to, for corporate sponsorships, we provide that here. Like we said, this is a big stage, and Eric did expound on it, what the Twin Cities Startup Week has been able to do, in the past couple of years. This is the second largest, startup week in North America, and it's attracting people from every corner of the world. So this is a perfect opportunity for you to showcase your company, your organization, or the project that you're working on. So get your brand in front of the right audience. Your startup, your founders, your corporate partners, and community leaders, locally or regionally or internationally. Just please be a sponsor. Reach out to us. Our head of communication, Mr. Jiraji, here is going to leave some notes here on the chat, just giving you the links, the emails. But for starters, go to emergentafricaforum.com, and you'll be able to get a comprehensive overview and more detailed information about the event. So please sign up for sponsorship. Why you should attend this event is something I want to highlight. This event gives you a great opportunity to get informed about the exciting things that are happening on the continent and also here in the diaspora. So it also offers you the opportunity to network. We know how network is so important. And with resourceful dignitaries, we're having people of high profile business people, accomplished people. We have a whole group of them sitting here. You'll be able to rub shoulders with these guys and learn the ropes of the trade and be able to maybe tap into their resource. Okay, this is an opportunity for you to invest, attract investment, and also to form partnerships and develop valuable connections. If you're an expert investor, and also if you're captain of your industry, this is the place for you to be. So I welcome you to the Emergent African Forum Twin Cities Startup at the Twin Cities Startup Week here in September, and it's going to be an exciting event. We will be having the program rollout available probably starting tomorrow, and just for you to get a full scale of what's going to be happening on the 20th and also on the 22nd. But we will just give you the whole picture at the Twin Cities Startup Week for the week, so that way you can also see that there's other valuable opportunities beside the events that the EAF is going to be putting out, that you can be able to plug in and also gather more resources to connect and invest or partner or whatever. So with that said, I will just want to say that I am extremely grateful and privileged to be able to sit here amongst you very brilliant men, being able to absorb the kind of knowledge that you've been spewing out here. I'm very honored to be here as the host of this podcast, and from the thanking the ACOFDC for the honor and privilege that they've given me to be able to do this. It's something I've never dreamt of. I just kind of fell into it, and life has put me where my passion is, and I'm following my purpose. So these things just fall through when you're in that alignment with yourself. So I am very grateful for the knowledge, and please, this is just a preview to our audience. If you're watching, for the EAF coming up, you're going to hear more of this and even more. Africa is at the crossroads of being able to change the trajectory of where things are, and history is about to make, and you rather be a part of it now than later. So please, I'm inviting all of you to join us here. You can join us even now. Like we said, there are ways you can reach out to us if you want to participate, you want to contribute something, if you want to volunteer. There's so many opportunities. We are an organization of Pan-African, so we are not one country, one sector. We are all encompassing of Africa and also African and diaspora. and we're even including the diaspora nations as part of our initiative and our focus. So it's for everybody. So please, you're welcome on board. Thank you, Mr. Eric Kaigama, for sitting at the helm and making sure that this ship keeps sailing. I must commend you for your wonderful work, sir, and keep leading the charge for this. Thank you, Dr. Chinedu, for being here. David Edoja, please, it was a pleasure listening to you, sir. Valuable insights in your expertise as an AI expert. Mr. Ibrahim from Canada, please take that flight to Minnesota. Okay, we want to see you here in person. Kevin, as always, you're welcome to be. You're always welcome to be here as the head of communication, helping sure that everything here is powered right. Kevin is the guy behind this podcast and other shows that we're putting up here at the ACOFDC. So thank you for your wonderful work, sir. And I wanted to acknowledge Mr. Ifeanyi Jamie. He kind of came in late, but Ifeanyi Jamie is the head of the ACOFDC Fund and also doubles on the advisory board. Welcome to the ACOFDC EAF podcast, our first episode. And not forgetting Mr. Kojo. Man, when I think of Ghana, I think of the fresh fish. You know, I want to come there just to go to that seaside, and that fish coming out of the ocean, fresh. That's what I want to eat, roasted, hot, and fresh. But we think of you well, sir. Thank you for bringing your word of knowledge here and sharing your great accomplishment with us. These are the models that we need to have amongst us. People that have gone through the process of accomplished. They have the track record. They have something that we can, information and advice that we can actually trust and rely on. So thank you for being here, and looking forward to having more of your insights at the Twin Cities Startup Week, and also acknowledging Mr. Adeji Owoni. Thank you for joining us here during this segment. With that said, it's a beautiful Sunday, and Monday starts tomorrow, which means we got to go to work. Thank you for joining us. This has been the EAF ACOFDC podcast first episode. My name is Vitalis Peter. I'm grateful to be your host. You all have a great week. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job. Awesome.
Yeah, awesome. That was great. Good job, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Vitalis.
Mr. Kojo, thanks for joining. And first time we're going to be setting the African startups room. Hopefully we're able to have as many as possible startups that will want to have their banners and brochures, available, and also to advocate for them as well as part of the process. And we intend to do that even 2 months later after the EAF, the Emergent Africa Forum. As part of that, a deliberate, effort to really highlight and also bring, and localize the presence of those startups as well. So thank you, Vitalis. Amazing job, Kelvin.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Yeah. Connect soon.